It is 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Raythal.
Here.
Hunstead.
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Jolski.
Here.
First guy here. Kotek.
Here.
Lipsky.
Here.
Minutes reflect all board members are present.
And
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the open meeting law compliance.
Copies of this meeting agenda were sent to Coon Valley and Westby schools, the Chaseburg Post Office, the Coon Valley Post Office, River Bank of Coon Valley, the Westby Times, the La Crosse Tribune, WVRQ Radio, WCOW Radio on Friday, February 5th, and as such, I believe you are in compliance.
And next is public participation. Any public participation?
Probably Jared.
Yeah. Okay. Any other public participation? Bob?
Have a statement to read from a group of seniors tonight. Dear board members, below are some statements from some of the members of the class of 2021 cohort A. We believe that we should stay hybrid in order to continue to learn effectively and maintain a safe environment. We also believe that we should wait to return 5 days a week until we are sure we can stay the rest of the rest of the year. We acknowledge that you have many factors and viewpoints taken into consideration, including county case numbers, parent opinions, most importantly, the safety of the students and the staff. We respectfully ask you to consider our opinions as you have considered others before deciding what we'll be, whether in person or hybrid. As students, we've adjusted the hybrid, shifting into a new schedule. We'll continue to disrupt our daily habits. Going back full-time will result in many of us being less focused, not taking the time that we have done so that we do have in school seriously. Playing Garrison Corn, lots of decisions have been made about our school, which we even do without asking the opinion of our students or even our teachers. We're the ones who have to go through it all. Because we should get to voice what we think we should do, what's best for us. Bringing students back 5 days a week would not be safe. In case of a spike, we would have to quarantine, making our senior course than it already is. Many have brought up the comment we should go back after teachers are vaccinated, but that will only be protecting the teachers, not the students. Isn't the student safety is the main concern? As a senior, I've adapted to the hybrid schedule. I think we should keep it because all events and activities are being taken away from us and they won't be returned. Nothing would be normal if we just come back. I think we just stay. I think we should have a say in how we end our year. Jalen Holt. I've lost count of the schedule changes we've had this year. With every schedule change comes a period of lost productivity. We all take the time to adjust a new schedule. Finally, though, we've adjusted to a synchronous hybrid schedule to limit the effects of contact tracing while maintaining the benefits of in-person learning to adding another schedule change, how failures. We should stick with a more refined schedule until a full-time schedule is guaranteed to be permanent. Right now, the hybrid model is possible. It's possible to social distance in most classes. It limits the number of people who have to quarantine during contact tracing. Went back full-time COVID cases as well as contact tracing would skyrocket. This makes it impossible to section off like middle schoolers. We don't have homerooms to stay in with all day. We have classes often with kids from every break in Ellen Johnson. Many of the social elements of school have already been taken away due to COVID. Lots of parents want their kids back in school so they don't miss out on the experience. Bring us back full time won't make senior year normal again. Instead, it will result in more cases and quarantines, taking away limited social events we can still have. We haven't worked well. This year has been difficult. We've done many different options: 5 days face-to-face, hybrid, full virtual synchronous. Out of those three, the easiest to cope with is the hybrid. We have not done 5 days a week since September. It'd be hard to transition. While I agree that virtual is not ideal, 5 days is not either. Hybrid is a happy medium. We go back to fully in-person cases could spike in dating with students, which is the opposite of what we should be. This is why we did hybrid and virtual in the first place. Nicole Plum. Goes without saying that the school year has been a terrible year for us seniors and the rest of the student body. We've gone from seeing all of our classmates to half to none, back to half. While going face-to-face learning, our daily rituals will be disrupted, causing a period of readapting, which is varying length from student to student. It's clear that hybrid is one of the most effective way of attending school. Everyone gets their fair share of face-to-face learning. We practically cut our chance of getting COVID in half, if not more, because of increased social distancing. Please do this for us. Rep Jorgens. This year we already had so many changes. Changes haven't been necessarily helping us. As being seniors, we'd like things to be normal again. But going back back will help, considering we just created months of cases and possibly shut us down fully virtually again. Already adjusted to the hybrid, for many of us, it's easier. We're able to kind of use our whole day to get work done instead of having to focus on one subject at a time. Go back to in-person learning to change our schedules, what we're already used to. Please do this for the seniors. It would mean so much to us, Nicole Bell. As a senior, I'm devastated by the year I've had by losing a homecoming dance, multiple senior events that are usually taking place. I strongly believe that forcing high school to come back 5 days a week would greatly spread the coronavirus and cause us to lose more of our senior year. If we're able to stay in the hybrid, I believe we'd be able to slow down the spread enough to have graduation celebration we've been looking forward to doing. Grace, people. We faced many challenges this year. We had to change and adapt at times. That by no means is easy. I believe it is in the best interest of students to continue forward with the hybrid. I am biased in my opinion, of course. However, I, as well as many others, do not want to return to 5 days a week to enhance them. This has been a crazy year. We as seniors missed out on everything we look forward to as freshmen. Can't imagine high school was like before COVID stuck. Our school needs to make a decision to stick to it and how they want our school to continue our education. Going forward with going full-time in person will not help our students anymore. It will only make going to school more dreadful. We have nothing to look forward to this year. We've lost everything this year. And as seniors, we're getting nothing out of the year. No homecoming, no dances, no basketball games, student sections. Most importantly, education. As a senior, I prefer staying in the hybrid due to changing our daily routine constantly in large degree. Statement from a junior, I think that staying in the hybrid would be the best interest of the students and teachers' mental and physical health. In some classes, there's still a large number of students, and there's not enough social distancing to space out. If one person tests positive, a couple people from each of their classes are sent home to quarantine. You double the amount of students here, that would make social distancing harder, send even more people home. As for the mental health aspect, constantly changing and adjusting to new schedules is hard on all of us. You can't speak for everyone, but most students have adapted well to the hybrid. It's a good compromise. Additional signatures on the schedule, additional signatures on here from seniors, Meredith DeGarmo, Emily Bender, from Canada, Andy Russell, Bruce Helwig. Thank you for your time and consideration. Members of the class of 2021 and one from 2022, cohort A. I've had other students contact me. One senior in particular reached out and said, Mr. Booty, let's come back 5 days a week. If you're asked 3 different students walking down the hall, you can get 3 different answers. We're all over the place. I did poll the students. I do have that data. If you're interested, I can share that with you now. I can save it for later.
Why don't we save it for, when we're in that discussion?
That'll be my data. This was just what the students sent.
Yep.
And of course, a couple of students are all for asynchronous, have expressed that whatever we do for virtual, just let us do our own thing, stop having Google Meets. But yet the data would show that's the opposite, but at least I want their voices to be heard, that we have to revisit asynchronous learning. So I said it. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other public participation?
That document was shared with you too, in case you wanted to read it and not listen to my speed reading.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to action items. Minutes.
Move to approve.
Second,
Second, Barb.
any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any questions on any of the bills?
Motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Employee staff. Steve?
Okay, so a number of people are being recommended here this evening. To start with is Jill Iliff, who is coming to us from Brennigan Motors in West Salem. The second is, that would be taking Annette's former position. Special ed aide, we're recommending Elias Ellefson. Elias has been a sub for us for a number of years already. So he's coming to us from that sub role. We have a former bus driver, Gary Erickson, who's going to be driving for us again in the morning. So we're recommending his approval as well. Tyler Fortune is the individual whose name is being brought forward for our varsity boys golf position. And last spring, we actually were about to bring Scott Kring's name forward for assistant baseball coach, but our season was it did not happen, of course. So that's the reason for which you see his name here as a recommendation tonight.
Any questions? Any principals need to add more? Okay, motion to employ? Here, second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Employee resignation.
So in your supporting documents, you'll see that Chad Oliver has submitted his letter of resignation, and his position has been posted externally. And along with that, you'll see that Janine Gallo has submitted her letter of resignation from her position as middle school softball coach.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Adjust February 12 early release.
So given our weather the past week, and potential for a second vaccination clinic coming up at the end of February, I'm recommending that we maintain February 12th as a full day of school, and I'm asking for some flexibility to place this either as a late start on the or early release on either the 25th or 26th of February, depending on when that clinic can happen.
Motion to accept.
Okay, second. Any discussion?
But do you know when that, you're gonna get about the clinic?
That's
mean,
what
you-
we're waiting for. Yeah.
Just, maybe he didn't tell you this week, or he'll let you know, or just,
Nope.
he'll let you know.
It is scheduled for Thursday. We're trying to get it to Friday.
Right. So I was gonna take a half a day so I could get here.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2021 budget revisions.
So, the budget revisions are in your supporting documents folder. Not many revisions at this point. I have general fund, just based on some revenue that, I wasn't sure was gonna come in. So there's some increased revenue there. Adjusted the business services line, which is a lot, where we have a lot of expenses for our, COVID preparation type things. And then the debt service, or not debt service, I'm sorry, capital projects. The 9 million revenue is for the bond anticipation note. Just recording that we received in January. And then, the expenditures are for the estimated expenditures that we're going to see in this fiscal year, for the referendum. There will be additional budget revisions related to that when we do our bond. And I have to record that, but not knowing how that's all going to play out, I only did the bond anticipation note right now for that funding. And then I made an adjustment in food service, to estimate an increase because we were, running high both in revenue and expenditures for Fund 50, so, adjusted that. And I'll have to review it as we're going forward to see if it requires another adjustment later in the year.
Any questions? Motion to approve the budget revisions.
So
Dan? Second?
Second.
Bob? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, bleacher project at athletic complex.
So last month, we talked about this last year, and then last month it was brought forward as a discussion item. We received 3 bids, and the low bid to do all of the work, related to the scope of that project was Badger Environmental at $101,000. There may be some revisions, just minor, once we determine how much rebar is actually needed, on the concrete pad, but he thought no more than 3,000, for that, and then we were talking about splitting it between this fiscal year and next fiscal year. But in order to get it going, we need approval so that things can be ordered and scheduled to be done at this time that we need it.
And this year's budget, next year's budget, are we using Fund 46 at all, or?
No.
No, okay. Any other questions? Motion to move forward with the bleacher project?
I have a question. That's for all the pad,
It's all the drainage, all the fence,
so we still have to put the bleachers back together and slide everything.
Correct.
correct.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't include that's just the pad to put the bleachers on.
Correct.
And all the
And the drainage.
the
And the
drainage
drain- yeah,
associated with it,
Right.
yes,
And
yes,
it's
but
just-
putting the bleachers,
That's
reassembling them, yes, that
Okay.
is in addition.
Gotcha. So,
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items. Item 1, update on learning models. Steve?
Thank you. All right, so my presentation is gonna hinge on a couple of graphs that I'll share with you. But I'm gonna reiterate a couple of things that we've been saying over time now, and that is when our numbers return to a spot where they were near the middle to the end of September, that would be one indicator for which we would consider moving back. And the second one would be the vaccinations. So vaccinations are rolling out for employees and for residents in Vernon County at this time. So for that reason, we've got two criteria that are pointing to the direction of returning our students face-to-face 5 days a week. This graph here just shows where we started in the year. Actually, it goes back to the end of August. But you can see here, I made a line on September 14th, and a line on September 30th, setting the low point and the high point for that range. Now when you go across to where we were January 12th, and then today, falling within that range, that's one criterion, that's one way to take a look at this. This is county data. This is based on the Harvard model that we've been talking about. It's been a very consistent model. For all of its woes, I will say they do an outstanding job of keeping it updated regularly, and it's been a real source for me to lean on when I look at our county information. Does anyone have any questions about this data? Okay. The second graph I'm going to share with you just points to the nature of our small organization. So this is WASD, number of students and staff out due to either being symptomatic, a close contact, or positive. It takes all of them. And quite simply, we're too small of an organization for a trend to be represented, to be able to point to and say, this is what the data is trending for our organization. But what it does show is the correlation between students being here and the increase in close contacts and quarantine as a result. So what you can't deny in this graph would be that our highest points happen to be times when we were in session. Okay, and the more people that are back in session, it's just something that we have to be comfortable with and be familiar with and understand that we are going to see an increase in close contacts. It's just the nature of it. Does anyone have any questions about this graph or this information? so, again, our numbers, and I would just add that these numbers are not like a momentary dip in time where we reached that number at one point. Since January 12th, or shortly thereafter, through our present moment, we've been in that trend. So we've got weeks of solid data showing that we've returned to that place where we were in September. So that coupled with the increase in vaccinations, the question then I believe that's in front of the board that we're gonna have to come to consensus upon is when. When are we gonna return? So I think that's the discussion that we need to have tonight.
Do you want Bob to share his data now?
Go ahead, Bob.
So the survey for each of the classes, asked the freshmen, what's been your ideal learning platform this year? 46% hybrid, 36% face-to-face, 18% virtual. If they were to select something tonight here at the board meeting, I want you to know that 54% of the freshmen believe that hybrid should be what we continue with into the third quarter for the midterm. 30% face-to-face, 15% virtual. 57% believe that synchronous learning is the best learning platform versus asynchronous. And 45% of our freshmen spend over 3 hours on their virtual Wednesdays. Sophomores are split. 42% believe face-to-face is the best. 42% believe that hybrid is the best overall, in general. 53% of the sophomores believe that hybrid is what we should continue for the third quarter, if they were here tonight. 35%, 36% believe that face-to-face is what we should return to. 11% are staying virtual. Sophomores also agree that synchronous is the best learning platform, over 55%. 38% of our sophomores spend more than 3 hours on their Wednesdays working virtually. Juniors believe that face-to-face is the highest percentage. For a learning platform, they believe that 42% believe that face-to-face is the best. That hybrid was 37%. The juniors, however, believe that the hybrid, with half of them, is where we should be right now. 32% believe that we should be face-to-face if they were here tonight. They believe also that synchronous is the best learning platform. 55% of them, 45. And 28% of them spend more than 3 hours a day working. There's also another spot if you spend all day working. Not a lot of, there's a good sentiment of upperclassmen who spend a lot of the Wednesday working. Seniors, 48% believe the hybrid is the best learning platform. 34% believe face-to-face. 58% of our seniors believe that hybrid is the best right now. And 34% believe it's face-to-face. Our seniors are on the opposite end as far as asynchronous. 70% believe you can just leave them and they will do the best that they can on those virtual Wednesdays. They don't need any synchronous time. So that's the data for the classes. I didn't put the numbers together. Added each class divided by 4. 43% believe that our hybrid has been the best option all year. 53% believe the hybrid is the best now. If you add the seniors in there, we're split down the middle between asynchronous and synchronous. 31% of our students spend at least 3 hours. 22% of our students spend all the way. So that's sort of an indicator there that Wednesdays seem to be time for them to get some things done at one time. That's the data from.
How many kids replied to your?
Over half.
Okay.
Any questions over that? I want to recant one statement. I want to go back to the juniors. I do believe I said that. Did I say 50% of the juniors believe hybrid was the best option?
No, you said they wanted to be in face-to-face.
Initially, yeah, their best platform is face-to-face, but 50% did believe that they should be in hybrid. So initially, they feel like face-to-face is the best
conversation is really what I've been hearing at multiple meetings is returning to face-to-face. The question is, when are we going to do that? So I would advocate that we do that next Monday, the 15th. I think we need to announce ahead of time to families, to our employees, to everyone involved, give them a chance to get ready. Based on the one chart, the county chart, I think we're at a point where we need to make that effort back to all of our students. We're essentially pre-K through 8th grade are there ready. So we're really talking about the high school. Yes, there's more blending. There is no core group that stays together all day. That's a problem in terms of social distancing and the rest. But I guess that's just my point of view. Other thoughts?
After listening to what Bob had from students, Craig and I were talking when we came in. He asked me, and I said, "Yeah, I want to go back face to face." And I still think I do, but I can understand the concern that students have, especially seniors, and maybe juniors. Maybe it gets to be less as you go down to sophomores and freshmen. But the social aspect of high school, and then all of the activities that go on. The concern that they're expressing is because of the differences in middle school and high school of not keeping groups together, and that there's going to be more intermingling. Do we see an issue or a problem with if we have, and Mr. Michaels mentioned this in his presentation, that you bring more kids in, you're going to expect to have more cases of positive testing. Okay, then would we be in a situation where we would have to go completely virtual again? I mean, could that occur? And if that would occur, I think that's what the kids are kind of saying, that don't put us in a situation where we're going to lose everything. I mean, in the hybrid model, we have an opportunity for sports. Everything's been limited more this year, but we have opportunities. But what happens if we have to go back to all virtual? If we would have an occurrence in the high school where you end up with a number of positive tests, and because of the contact tracing that we end up with a lot of kids out. You hope that staff with the shots and that are going to be okay. That was kind of something that I guess was a little bit more than what I had thought about before, that aspect of it. And how the kids are looking at it and saying that we've lost a lot already, we don't want to lose everything. So, just my thoughts on that. If we can go back and we're not going to have that issue, and we know that that's not going to be a problem, then how do we know that? Yeah, right. I would hate to see that happen, where we would all of a sudden 3 weeks or a month from now have to say, well, we're going to be going all virtual again, and we don't know how long. It might be a month, it might be. So, my thoughts.
Rick?
I agree with you, Jerry. I think it's time we go back to face-to-face. Numbers are showing now that we are at that point. We cannot predict the future, and I do have a concern for our staff. Hopefully the vaccine will come quicker than what we're anticipating, but I think we're at a point in our district that we try to get some resemblance of normalcy with our students back to a face-to-face setting.
Anybody else?
I think we need to come back, but we also need to come back with the idea that there's going to be, and parents have to understand with us coming back, there are going to be large amounts of contact tracing in 14 days where kids are out. And I think that's a little bit of what the kids are saying, at least they know what they have now. Where when we come back and everybody's back, there's gonna be kids that are virtual for 14 days, and that's gonna happen. There's no way it doesn't. Just because they're too close together and there's gonna be contact. Hopefully there won't be many, maybe we'll get lucky. But whether it's Monday or if you wait till the 22nd, then everything's done then, as far as sports. Not that sports is all the be all and all, I'm just saying you have that extended time and you get through what you've had. But we have to come back at some point.
Just wanted to mention a couple of things here, just clarifications. We're not gonna see necessarily an increase in positive numbers, but we will likely see an increase in the number of quarantines because of close contacts. That's one thing that the hybrid afforded us the ability to do, is to spread out so that we wouldn't be going from room to room, assigning her, saying these 6 kids in this room and these 6 in this room need to quarantine because they're close contacts to this person that was positive. I just want to make sure that that's clear. And then remind everyone here that tomorrow, whenever we decide we're coming back, I'm going to ask Barb to post for another sub-nurse position. Anytime there's a positive case in the district is essentially an entire day for Tiffany. And we've got 2 subs right now, and they're able to kind of cover, but when one of them is gone for whatever reason, we're going to need somebody else on deck just to manage this. So just wanted to make that clarification. It's about close contacts and quarantining. And then the other part is, like, we really do not know what the future's going to hold. And if our numbers really spike, of course, there's a chance we can be back to hybrid, we can be back to virtual. So there's no guarantee. Like, everyone sitting in this room wants to make a decision and say, this is it for the rest of the year. We love that, but we just can't do that in this situation. So people need to be just understanding of that. All right, Bob, you have your hand up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a couple things. I think we talked last time about how long we keep the platform. If the midterms would be indications, the halfway mark, that would be next week, Friday, is the end of our midterms. And so we would have grades and everything updated by next Friday. Just a thought. This week, girls regionals begin, state wrestling is this week. Next week, boys regionals begins, and gymnastics begins as well. So you're looking at an indicator. Not that sports is, as Bob mentioned, not that sports is the key here, but there is a larger gap after the end of the sports season before spring starts in mid-April. So there is time between the sports seasons this year.
And that's a discussion the kids have had. That's a discussion the kids on the basketball team have had. If somebody has it, they know their season is done. If they stay out, because at practice today, they were all telling me, you're not actually going to vote to bring us back, are you? I'm like, well, yeah, you're going to come back. I mean, at first I thought they were joking, and then I was like, what? They just got here. But, I mean, that is a concern for those kids. Because if they know if they all come back, depending on how fast they get tested, they would be done. They've made it this far. They want to make it till next Tuesday. That's how the boys look at it. And Brian, hopefully the girls want to make it farther. I mean, but that is a concern of those kids. And to say that sports is important, it is to them right now. Because they've lost so much, they don't want to lose that now. They've almost made it. And we'll be done on Tuesday probably. Maybe Thursday. Or Valentine's Day. But it does matter to them.
Right, Eric?
Well, the metric we've been communicating to numbers going down in the county and getting vaccinations. So I feel like we need to keep our word with respect to that. I probably agree with what Bob said. Maybe going back to the 22nd might make more sense.
Again, it's gonna be the second half, the third quarter.
It would end, yeah, mid-quarter would be done, midterms would be done, many of the sports would be done. So that might make sense. My heart goes out to the seniors. I have one myself, and certainly coming back's not gonna make everything, great again, but I hope they can have a little special ending, with a graduation or something like that, in spring sports. And I really feel for them.
I agree with coming back 5 days. But along with that, I hear and respect the things we've heard from the seniors. And I do agree that maybe a week later would be okay to come back. But I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, and I hope it comes off right, but I think some of the seniors and the people that write the letters and are fearful of things getting taken away, there's some responsibility to them to mask up themselves, protect themselves, and to comply with the guidelines that are out there, because we all know that school is the safest spot. I mean, we've heard that over and over. But there are people and students that I've seen that are in groups without masks. They need to be responsible too, as do adults. I mean, I attend a church that I'm probably one of 5 out of 100 people that wear masks. And it irks me that some adults don't take that same responsibility. So I think we all need to get on board. Parents, community, and kids need to follow these guidelines, and I think that just enhances the protection and being in school longer. So I hope that came out right, and I hope I get my point across, but it's my opinion.
Well, I'm good coming back on I think the 22nd is the date. I mean, if that gets us past sports, gets us to this mid-quarter, or the quarter break, seems to make the most sense. Yeah, we're still getting back face to face, so right after that we should have the second vaccine shot, so should be in a good place.
Well, on this issue, we have, to this point, tried to operate on consensus. We've operated on consensus. And I guess as the first speaker out of the chute tonight, I was advocating for the 15th. And I'm hearing multiple folks saying, how about the 22nd? How about the 15th?
I'm good with the 15th.
When we had the meeting for, the policy, you said the 15th, and I said, off the cuff, I said, yeah, bring it back to 15th. Midterms and everything else, am I gonna throw my hands up in the air and be ornery if you guys decide to go on the 15th? No. I mean, I'm not. For what those kids have gone through, and you can make the argument, well, get them back 1 week earlier. Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna throw my hands up. I kinda think the 22nd makes the most sense, but if you guys wanna go back on the 15th, I'm not gonna say no.
think in listening to everybody and Bob's comments, and what Andy has said too in terms of the comments from kids and that, I would think that another week isn't gonna make that much difference, so I would support the 22nd because of the things that are going on during that week prior to the 22nd. If we can get all that stuff out of the way, and you got mid-quarter, and it seems like that might be the best alternative and might work out best. But either way, I mean, I guess feel the same way Andy does, that we're gonna be in agreement one way or the other. But I think the 22nd would be a little easier for me to work with than the 15th.
Would the two high school teachers like to chime in on any of this?
No,
Just checking.
I came for something else.
I know, but you're foolish enough to be here, so we thought maybe.
And I got a little bit from the staff if you wanna hear that too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Poll the staff, 45% are in favor of continuing with the hybrid, 22% would like to see our kids face to face. 33% said, Bob, what are we gonna do to support you and the school board? We wanna support our students, just like 100% of the teachers would say, we want our kids to have success. We know that they have the most success face to face. We have to do it safely. We wanna support everybody here, but also have 33% necessity. We also want to support those that want the hybrid because they're getting that second round of that vaccination in 3 weeks. That 10 days after that second vaccination, that's when everything kicks in. That's what we're looking at. What we understand where the board's at, we're in a tough spot. We're between districts that are, this section of Baroka who's still hybrid. Everyone else in between in the conference is face-to-face, whether it's 4 days or 5 days. And so they know we're in a tough spot, and they want to support both the students and the board and our staff and go, we're not going to vote about it. We're just going to say, and that's 33% of my staff that are stuck in the middle. And I got a lot of students that way too. I talked with one of the class presidents today. It said, you can have an opinion on everything, but I can't throw everything in one direction that's right. Like there's so much for each side that makes so much sense. And here's a person that wants to present their class and says, I know we have students that want to be here 100% face-to-face, and I want to support them. I also have students who want nothing to do with 20 kids in the same classroom. I know that, and so they're stuck in the middle, and I've got 33% of my staff that's stuck there as well. But we're going to do either one. Like whatever the board charts us with, we're going to do. We're going to support the board. We're going to support you. We also have to support our staff that they know is like, look, the hybrid is the best spot for us for another few weeks. We know we're coming back. If you can advocate for the fourth quarter, great. If not, we're going to do what the board says, but we'll advocate for as much time as possible. Under the impression that hopefully through the midterm, it gives parents a chance too to talk about this at home. Look, are we going to send you to school now, or are we going to go virtual? The virtual option is still there. I want to make sure everyone knows that too. You still keep your kid home and go learn virtually. That gives them time to think about that and process that, or send your kid to school with 20 classmates in the room.
Did you get any feel, Bob, from the kids that gave you the impression that, you know, they didn't want to go back face-to-face because they don't want 20 kids in a classroom and that? Did you get a feel from any of them, or do you have a feeling that some of them that are coming now on the hybrid model that are either cohort A or cohort B, but they're coming 2 days a week, would decide to stay home completely and go all virtual if we went back face-to-face?
I think there's a few that are in the hybrid because it's easier than full virtual and it's easier than 5 days a week. And I think they'll come do whatever, but I do think that we'll have some students who are just gonna say, I'm not coming to school until this happens. I'm not coming to school until 18, 17-year-olds get vaccinated. I'm not coming to school until this happens. I think there's gonna be some. I don't know if we're gonna be back, to above 15%. Now we're down back below 10% because more kids have decided to come back to school. It seems the school is done, and they talk like the school is the safest place. It has been. It has been for our students, and I hope that continues regardless of how many students are in the building. That's not the vibe for 40% or 45% of the staff. I guess I didn't ask that percentage, Bob, to say would you consider not coming back. I I do feel like there will be those that will decide, not yet, I'm just not ready to come back. Yes, I do feel like there will be a percentage of kids that will decide, I guess I'm just go face to face and not be able to.
And what shall we do?
Well, it seems like consensus, Jerry, is the 22nd. I mean, I'm good with that. Obviously, I want them back soon, and I do. I mean, I guess I'm on the same page as Andy. If it ends up to 22nd, I'm not like gonna be upset because we waited another week. I just want them back sooner. But it seems like the consensus so far is the 22nd. I don't know.
Dan, you okay with the 22nd?
Yep, I'm good at the 22nd.
Sarah?
Yep.
Craig?
Yep.
Andy? Okay, then it's the 22nd. Okay, moving on, cross country.
Mr. Hebert?
Okay, so, I sat down with Mr. Michaels, in November, and, many of you are well aware, of the passing of Ken Trott this last fall, and, Dave and I, for the past 16 years, have done a meet, it's called the Ken Trott Invitational. Very early on, Ken was able to attend many of those, and in the more recent or latter ones, because of health, he was not. But in talking to Mr. Michaels and reflecting back on Ken's passing, Dave and I, had talked about, well, what can we do to honor his memory with cross country, because obviously we won't always be the cross country coaches, and when we leave, would the next person want to continue doing a Ken Trott Invitational? So what we thought was maybe more permanent and maybe a more fitting opportunity to memorialize him would be to make the athletic fields, or turn the athletic fields into the Ken Trott Memorial Cross Country Course. And we have a great honor, and I have a lot of data, anecdotal data of fans that have come and student athletes that have run there. We have one of the best facilities around. This past year, with everything that happened, the WI was in kind of a free fall as far as where do we host things, and we had the opportunity to host not just a sub-sectional, which is completely new this year, but a sectional. And it worked out really, really well, and we had some teams come from some different parts of the state, Southwestern in particular, and just really loved the course. We had a girl who won our subsectional, who had one of the top 15 times in the nation on our course. So that being said, when I sat down with Mr. Michaels, I realized this is more than just me saying, hey, let's just call this the Ken Trott Memorial Fields and move on. I think there's a lot of discussion. I hadn't thought about this, but there's another discussion maybe as far as basketball and the floor that is maybe not in my lane in this point, but I think it's something that you will all have to consider. But what we would like maybe you to think about is more than just, for lack of a better term, the naming rights of this. What I proposed to Mr. Michaels is I would like to get a flagpole put down there because we have honored our veterans and the flag at our sectional races, and we've taken out the flag that sits outside the library and kind of rig it to the fence, and hopefully no one was ever offended by that, but I think we can do better. So what I would really like to do is I would like to make a kiosk as you kind of go down onto the course, and design that with the Ken Trotz Memorial Cross Country Course name, and then maybe a flagpole that's next to that, and something that's going to be very, very nice. Now that's my vision. There's other things that I could see, and what I really appreciated with the conversation with Mr. Michaels is the idea of a revenue stream. And I don't know what that looks like. I know that we have been very successful in what we've done in bringing schools here. There's certainly gate receipts, but in safer times, we get a t-shirt vendor here, we do very well, but that's money that I look at goes back to the kids that are a part of the program and things that we do with the kids. So maybe a broader conversation in this that doesn't have to happen tonight, but what would that revenue stream be? Who would be responsible for that revenue stream? And then what would be some kind of long-term, like I said, long-term ideas or things that we could move forward with? Because I've got a lot of things that we could do. I have a lot of ideas, but I also look at it like I'm just thrilled to be the cross-country coach that gets to coach there. I don't want to push my limits too far. So that being said, that's the proposal. And unless Dave, do you have anything to add? Or? All right. So and I'll take any questions that you might have.
This came from oral before.
Yeah, part of the program, right? I could talk if you'd like me to.
Well, just one comment. Being one of the former graduates of Westby High School, I had Ken Trott as a teacher. And he not only started the cross-country program here, he started the wrestling program. So, and then he coached baseball for, I don't know how many years, plus Legion baseball. He coached football. So he was, and besides that being quite a man too. Anybody that had any contact with him, if you were a baseball player, sometimes he would maybe get riled up a little bit about something, but he was a great coach, and the idea of honoring him, I think, is well deserved. And cross country, I think, was his love. Like I said, he started wrestling, but he didn't stay in it a long time. But he was in with cross country for a long time and coached a lot of years. So I want to thank you, Brian, for bringing this forward, and Dave. I think it's a well-deserved honor, and I hope we can do something to honor him.
So at some point we need a formal proposal, maybe with some numbers attached to it. I don't see anybody that's going to object to that at all. I mean, obviously, there's a limit somewhere out there that, okay, we're good, but, yeah.
And with the court thing, I mean, we already did that. What did we do?
I thought we approved all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the board approved to name the Fieldhouse basketball court as Consulate Court.
Right.
I've got a meeting with Andy this week to decide how are we gonna do this.
Right, okay.
Just one question, Brian. Have you thought at all about, you said you had a lot of ideas and different things in terms of a revenue stream to kind of keep things going, but to get it started, a fundraiser, contacting former cross-country racers, runners to let them donate, the Booster Club, I know you mentioned that in your proposal, the Booster Club being possibly involved.
Yep. So the Booster Club definitely is there. We're going to meet with you. I'd like to meet with the city of Westby. We have maps being made by Midwestern Technical College. And those are coming real soon. And we also have, when I had those maps made, we have a 1 mile walking loop that I've also worked with, or started the conversation with the elementary teachers as far as maybe some sort of community walking trail with some fitness type equipment. But yes, I think long term there would be some fundraising. I have made some communications with past athletes, and I think that would be something that we could put into this as well.
Any other questions, any other comments?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
ESSA, Jason.
Just going to take a few minutes to go through an overview. If you recall, back in 2018, 2019 school years, we developed our ESSA plan. Just identify and make a plan to close gaps for students through direct interventions, professional development, family engagement. And I will say that this last 9 months or so, I mean, a lot of things unfortunately have been put on the back burner. But one thing is clear, that the periodic updates we still have to do. So I'm going to update you on a lot of stuff that we really didn't do or wanting to do. But the big thing that I wanted to say is, a lot of the plans we had, we were talking pretty much elementary through middle school about, like with the math in particular, and starting to do some ability grouping, and just to try to really hone in on some of those groups that were missing the boat in terms of like our English learners, special ed students, and whatnot. But really, because of the COVID closure, the cohorts and the mixing of those groups just wasn't able to happen the way we had intended. So a lot of that stuff is pushed off. But honestly, I would say the biggest success through the closure was the fact that we allowed and parents agreed to send kids, whether it was special ed kids or English learners or just at-risk kids in general, to come and receive face-to-face support and intervention. And I would say, as a result, a lot of those kids did maintain, I don't know that we closed any gaps, but we didn't increase any gaps either. And we're just finishing up on our midwinter district-wide screening, and I think Bruce and Mike could both attest to, for the most part, and, not for all students, but for the most part, I mean, our kids are right still where they're supposed to be in terms of academic skills, across national norms. So, I mean, it's been a good thing. But, I mean, it has been at the same time very frustrating, because there are a lot of things that we would like to do. And now that we're, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're starting to make plans about, discussions that we're going to have this spring and into the summer, and hopefully get some rollout for next fall. So I guess stay tuned. We do have some ideas, but I mean, nothing to the level of presenting to you right now. This was intended to be a very high flyover and answer any questions that you might have about where we're at and where we're heading. But like I said, nothing specific from me tonight.
Anyone have any questions of Jason or ESSA?
Is staffing going okay, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for the most part. I mean, I know we've talked about, some proposals for some of these groups. I mean, because honestly, I mean, there is a group of students who were almost completely unengaged through this, and we're just trying to brainstorm ways to reach those kids, and it's just future conversations that are going to happen at the admin level. But I mean, as far as like the special ed staffing and the current staffing we have, I mean, we're in a good place.
And I can kind of second what Jason said about the Fastbridge scores and the reading and math scores. Kids haven't dropped off. I know there's a lot of concern that kids have missed and kids are going to be way behind. Kids aren't way behind. The kids in my class aren't. We all know I'm nothing special. So it just proves that kids are keeping up and doing things. I mean, they really are. Teachers have done a really good job with kids through all of this. Kids have done a good job. It's not nearly as dire as people thought it was going to be.
Any other questions?
I will follow that
too, Jerry. I know there was a topic discussed about the number of pages at the midterm last quarter. I just want to reiterate that, yes, it did increase the font size of the DF list, hence the length of the pages. Went back into the data and looked, and yeah, our numbers were high, the highest they've ever been for a midterm. But as the first midterm we ever had our zero out homework policy where we changed missing grades to zeros. The kids were not earning passing grades, or it meant that, well, I can turn it in at the end of the semester and just pass. Those numbers were high. They absolutely were in the midterm. Those numbers were reduced to the quarter and reduced even further to the semester, where it was less than 1/3 of the students that were listed on that before the midterm had enough for the semester. My biggest concern about that in regards to ESSA is we have more kids failing multiple classes than ever before. And we've created a risk number of students, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, freshmen not at risk the first year. They are a second semester sophomores if they continue to fail, which they have. So I just wanted to bring light to that I'm very proud of our students, much like Andy's students, who who can work with or without him or regardless of him. That we've had students step up their game. We've had staff continue to reach out and parents help out. So there are still those that are tough to reach, whether they're virtual, which 20 of our kids are at risk or sophomores, 10 are virtual. By choice, the families have decided, and that's tough for us to try to reach those kids and build relationships. Our goal is to build relationships with these kids. We'll continue to do that. But the number of at-risk students that we currently have that are not doing well in both, that number is a concern of mine. I'm just glad that the number of total Fs, total number of students is down comparable. In an average year, we're pretty close to that average. The number of kids who do fail a class a semester, but it's way down from midterm in December. So I'm proud of the staff to step up and to advocate for those students and the students advocate for themselves. But the kids who are failing at a high rate, the number of classes, that is a concern of mine. We'll talk about that then.
Okay. Anything else? Face mask requirement.
So, what an interesting week last week was at the state level. So, on one day, our assembly, our legislature acted to overturn the governor's emergency order, and then hours later, the governor issued a new one. So we can expect that this is going to be going back and forth until it's taken up and settled at the Supreme Court. Regardless, though, I wanted to just talk to the board and remind everyone that we are within our right legally to ask anyone to mask up, and we're going to continue to do so, I believe, for the foreseeable future. Certainly until the end of the school year, I would think, and probably into summer school. But I did resend that email from Shane out to you all so you could see that inquiry that I asked in June. And in the next discussion item, our policy committee is recommending a face mask policy that we can invoke during times when there's an epidemic or a pandemic, during times when it makes sense for our kids to mask. So I'm going to be bringing that forward with our Neola updates as well.
Any questions on that? I guess my concern was I don't want any gaps. I mean, we're face masking and we're going to continue face masking until we decide not to.
Correct.
Item 5, first reading of Neola policy.
All right, so our policy committee met and we reviewed the batch of updates by Neola plus the PPE, the mask policy that I'm going to be including in this bundle today. So the first bunch of policies you'll see in your supporting documents is called technical corrections. And you'll see that on the front page of this, I'm going to be recommending a policy that addresses technical corrections. And so we're all clear on that. We're talking about spelling, grammar, statute, number change. But essentially it doesn't change anything about the policy. It's just a grammatical or technical correction. So that's one that I'll be bringing forward, is that I don't need to burden the policy committee with reviewing the technical corrections. I can make those recommendations myself. I also want you to know there are several policies that we're going to be coming back to for our next review. There are some administrators who I need to weigh in on a couple of things, and I want their eyes on that policy before I bring it to the policy committee for their recommendation. So you'll see throughout, as we go through here, you're gonna see, future consideration written next to a number of policies, okay? On the policies, just like always, I mark them with a C, which means that there's a choice or a decision that's required, or NC, where there's no choice or decision needed because it's a statutory type change. Interesting, as you might expect, that COVID drove a lot of the revisions that are in this update, okay? So I'm just gonna go very quickly through the policies where there's a choice and why you can see I hand wrote a note on each of these as to what the choice was. So I already mentioned, there's no need to burden the committee with technical corrections. So that would be policy 131.1. Board member information requests. Essentially what this says is that if there's a significant amount of, you can ask any information that any other citizen can ask. And if it's a readily available form or document, I can provide it for you. But if somebody were to ask me to invest a week of administrative time in preparing and researching, if there's a significant amount of time that's required for that report to be provided, the board needs to weigh in on it, is essentially what that policy says. Board member behavior and code of conduct, the 144.5. The choice that we decided not to take, I know from time to time, you guys need to check in on your families, you need to check in on a sporting event or whatever. Where this came from COVID, was from board members who were texting community members about the proceedings of the meeting while it was happening. And because that's not been an issue with this board, we chose to leave that out, because there are times when you're gonna need to look at your phone for whatever reason.
Well, tell them the real reason, Steve, is because a bunch of our board members still have flip phones, let's just be honest.
Thank you.
That's why we just.
That's right.
That's true.
The next policy where there was some choice was the harassment policy, and it's a redundant policy. We went through our Title IX already, and it's outlined very clearly. So there's one sentence in there where they outline some of the protected classes. I just chose not to highlight that one, so we're leaving that one out, because it is redundant and it is spelled out very carefully in other places. The whistleblower protection, we have whistleblower protection in other areas. This one is specific for administrators. I'm putting that in future consideration, and I want to obviously talk to our team about it before we go down that road. The next one I want to point to is example 3220, staff evaluation. The choice in that one was if we used a certain policy, which we do, and so I checked that box, yes, because it refers to that policy. 3340, the grievance procedure, because we have callback provisions, we will not allow people to grieve a layoff. So they can't grieve a layoff, they can't grieve a retirement, and they can't grieve there's another one that they can't grieve. Termination, you can.
You can.
You can, but you can't grieve a layoff or a retirement. So that's just articulating that. 5511, that's an example where Bob and Tammy need their input on the policy for dress and grooming. The next page, in case you didn't know, the district office does issue student work permits. So because we offer that, that's one of the things that we had to check. That was a choice we had. There's one that I wanted to run past Jennifer, so I'm going to put that in the future consideration category. Under gifts, grants, and bequests, we already have a really good policy on that, so we're not going to take those changes. Essentially, it allows the board to acknowledge any gift. It doesn't attach a monetary amount to anything. It says if we You have the ability to acknowledge those gifts if you so choose. And that is a flyover of, you'll notice at the end, there was a number of policies that were referring to mascots, and apparently there was a big issue in other districts in our state where mascots were used without permission, and that caused a whole bunch of policies to get re-examined. So, there you go.
Okay, just, it's a discussion item, any reaction? It'll be up for the formal vote next month then? Okay, moving on, item 6, Jennifer?
So the report is in your supporting documents folder, because the budget revisions were not approved until tonight's meeting. The budget doesn't reflect the revisions, so next month's report will reflect the revisions approved.
So that's why that 17,000% over is.
Yeah, with the 9 million for the bond anticipation, oh, yes.
I'm not real good at numbers, but I thought that might be off.
So yes, it will not be that percentage next month.
Any other questions regarding that? Okay. Motion to adjourn. Second. Any discussion?
We have closed session?
No.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.